Welcome to the FiveStack. I am humbly sorry we're late. There are ghosts in the machine. That's all I can say. People, there's ghosts in the machine. We had, about 10 false starts. I had to retype the title of the FiveStack like 38 times. We had a guest all the way from Copenhagen sitting there going, I thought you guys were pros. Thought you guys were pros. Turns out you're not. Shakti's still here. That is Zev Shalev from narrative.org. He joins me every single day for the FiveStack, or I join him every single day from the FiveStack. He's doing some of the most incredible work known to man right now. Greatest Heist series is out. Highly suggest you go and watch it. How are you today, Zeb? You all right?
I'm doing great. It's really nice to see you again, and it's nice to see Jacob. What time is it in Copenhagen right now?
Well, it's 20 past 9 at night.
You're staying up late for us. Thank you.
Yeah, I was supposed to have been at a big event tonight, but I couldn't go due to an eye infection. So
your eye looks a little bit damaged there, but it's not so bad. You don't notice it that much. But I hope it's curable and treatable. I hope you're taking some medication for it.
It should be. Yeah.
Well, we're glad you're here, even though you're playing injured. This is our guest today, ladies and gentlemen, on the FiveStack. I just was thrilled to get a note from this guy today because not only is he an up-and-comer on Substack, he's also the former security and defense policy expert, still is. He's freelance now, 15 years with the Danish Defense Intelligence Service. He's also a sports nerd. I'm sure we'll get into some soccer a little later on today. Please welcome Mr. Jacob Casboe, ladies and gentlemen. Jacob Casboe, I'm giving you a round of applause. Nice to see you.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I'm really glad you're here. We're going to count down the 5 stories, and we thought we'd give you the floor off the top because some real crazy shit is happening in Greenland. Of course, everybody's very well aware that the Trump regime sent 3 operatives over there to seed chaos, to sow division, to get Greenlanders to try and, agree to secede or agree to a referendum to get out of their partnership and their ownership via Denmark. You're in Denmark. You're former Defense National Intelligence Service member, and you know all the players. You know exactly what's going on. And the reason why I wanted to have you is because Denmark and Canada share a very similar problem. Not only do we share a very similar pragmatism and our love of cakes and danishes, however, we also share the fact that a MAGA, Donald Trump, the MAGAverse, and his fascist regime are trying desperately to do the same thing to a province here in Canada called Alberta. So, Jacob, thank you so much for joining us. Where are things at right now in terms of what's going on with Denmark, their conversation with a couple of different diplomats that were serving in Greenland, and the espionage case, as it were, in terms of what the Trump regime has been trying to do in Greenland?
Yeah, it's quite intriguing. I mean, for in 3 months we've had the American chargé d'affaires called to talk to our Minister for Foreign Affairs twice. Usually that is reserved for the Russian ambassador, occasionally also the Iranian ambassador. But now we have a third rogue regime that is trying to do bad stuff to our kingdom. So that's where we're at, and obviously the chargé on the diplomatic channel say it's private American businessmen, but somehow these are all tied to the MAGA universe and big time donors to Donald Trump's campaign. Insiders, the audience here will know that Trump Jr. went to Greenland all the way back in January, and since then this has just been escalating. Now, I'm not certain about these 3 cases that were reported yesterday, but as far as I can tell, it's a build-up of some of the activities that we've seen already this spring. That was started off by Tom Dance, for one. He took out one of these separatist leaders, or helped one of these separatist leaders, have covered all his expenses, etc., etc. And now that those efforts seems to be expanding.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was going to say that maybe it's worth catching everyone up to the latest that happened just today. So Denmark summoned the top leader of the top diplomat from the United States to Denmark after catching Trump operatives conducting what can only be described as covert operations inside Greenland where they were manipulating Greenland's independence movement, if there is such a thing. And it seems, that these are operatives. These are not just, your typical diplomats you'd normally find from the Foreign Service. This is these are operatives that come out of MAGA world that are on, NATO ground. I mean, the one thing you mentioned about Iran and Russia, well, those countries' ambassadors might get summoned often to Copenhagen, but a NATO country to be summoned to Copenhagen, that is something else. Never mind the
I
United
don't think
States.
that has happened before, to be honest. I don't think so. And it's really insane. I have to say. Now, what we also know, what they are trying to foment also is false narratives on social media that are popping up in Greenland, trying to play on grievances, because we also have a shady past with the Greenlanders back many years. So we're also looking ourselves in the mirror closely, and so we should. But these actors that are sent to Greenland within the MAGA movement, they're trying to really play on these grievances through social media. And what I hear from the Greenlanders now is that they can tell that this is being beefed, because the only social media really hitting Greenland is Facebook. That is, of course, Meta. And we also know who owns Meta and what he needs to do to stay in business. So it seems that they are playing with the algorithms and making sure that these separatist voices get beefed up in the Greenlanders feed, etc., etc. And yeah, that's what's happening every day now.
So let me ask you something. Jacob Casbo joins us. He is a former Danish Defense Intelligence Service. He is currently a freelancer contractor who goes around warning people about shit that we're talking about right now. He's a rogue intelligence agent. But I wanted to kind of get to the meat of what the accusations are and who's been accused of doing what. Because, when you hear the words intelligence, or you hear the words espionage, or you hear the words foreign interference, specifically with the NATO country, you shake your head if you know anything about NATO, if you know anything about the countries that are involved in NATO, and I'm glad that Zev brought that up. But the specifics, who are the people? How close are they to Trump? And what are they accused of doing by the Danish government?
Yeah, the latest that came out yesterday is, and we don't have the names of these people, but that is allegedly one of the people in the inner circle of Trump's security policy establishment of sorts. I don't know if you can call it, but the inner circle of the security policy guys in Trump's administration.
Someone actually employed by the White House.
Yeah, it looks like it. But those they're in the gray area. It's like real Russian type gray zone stuff where it's like Steve Witkoff. Who is he employed by who? I don't know.
Putin, probably.
Yeah. So a lot of these are business people that are brought in and that are cultivated, and I don't know. It might be Trump Jr. That is doing this actively. It could be, but for sure, this is with Donald Trump's own knowledge. And
so if it's coming out of the White House, this is a very serious violation. Now, there's an Article 4 of NATO that doesn't really allow these kind of operations to happen on NATO territories. I mean, this is a clear violation. Is Denmark going to be doing something like, calling the United States to account for Article 4 or honor Article 4? And what does that mean in terms of retaliation?
No, but these are clearly subversive activities. And as you said, it's Article 4 stuff, but I doubt anything will come of it, because I think the approach taken by the Europeans now is that we'll try to lower the tension and try to keep Trump on board and all this nonsense. I think they should take a page out of the Canadian playbook and say, okay, gloves are off. We need to get our act together and show them what is right and what's wrong. But I doubt the Europeans have the courage to do it. Unfortunately.
Sorry, Zeb, go ahead.
I was going to say, I was going to bring in the Canada part of this because, Dean, you've been doing incredible coverage at dblundell.substack.com about what's going on in Alberta and about the attempts to get secession around Alberta, which is a Canadian province. And there seems to be a lot of symmetry between what Jacob is describing as happening here in Greenland and what's happening in Canada. There's disinformation campaigns. There seems to be operatives. Tell us a little bit about that, about how that relates to what's going on in Greenland and how similar these tactics are.
Yeah, and Jacob, maybe I'm just gonna, go over a couple of different things. You talked about amplifying separatist voices. You talked about amplifying, disingenuous narratives, lies, disinformation, misinformation, psyops. We have one going on here right now over MAID, medically assisted suicide. It's a program we have where MAGA, Russia, all these operatives now are going all in, saying Canada is mercilessly targeting and killing handicapped people, mercilessly and angrily killing children that are born with 3 arms or with Down syndrome, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it's really taken root in Alberta, and Alberta is an incredibly religious province. Alberta is very Christian, evangelical Christian. There are many different areas of Alberta that have these sects of religiosity. So the government of the day in Alberta is very sympathetic to the Christian nationalist movement, which truly believes that government should be of the people, by the people, but only the people who believe in a certain ideology. So we'll push that aside. They've got a willing audience. I don't know if Greenland has, but it seems to be the same triggers, the same people, the same money. Even an Alberta separatist was offered a $500 million transition loan to help Canada to Alberta to secede from Canada. And you're seeing a lot of Alberta influencers putting on MAGA people to try and amplify this close relationship with Alberta, but they're also amplifying pure bullshit when it comes to what Canada is doing, painting Canada as a tyrannical country that is managed by a tyrannical overlord. Does that sound kind of similar, the way that they're positioning the misinformation and disinformation in Greenland and positioning Denmark as the overlords of Greenland, sort of like Canada is tyrannical to the province of Alberta? Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, very much so. And we've also seen the same thing with loans given to make investments in critical minerals and rare earths and mining exploration in southern Greenland. And that's a huge loan that has been taken out and offered to the Greenlanders there by one of these MAGA operatives. I forget his name now, but it's all very, very familiar the way they operate. And the thing is, all this, if you look at what's called the praxis community, and if the listeners don't know what that is, you can go and Google it and find it on the web. And it's really quite insane. It's a lot of these. Tech moguls from Silicon Valley, and they've signed up to this decree that the U.S. needs to expand its territory and how Greenland can become a tech hub in the future. And you know who's a donor to Praxis Community?
Who?
That is the guy Trump has named the ambassador to Copenhagen.
Ah,
Isn't that wonderful?
well,
So, so the
very
guy
MAGA.
yeah, the guy that is coming here to Copenhagen to assume the post as ambassador, we know for sure that he doesn't recognize the Kingdom of Denmark, and he is contributing to an organization that wants to sow division between Greenland and Denmark and take Greenland out of the kingdom. So Yeah, that's
What's really
that's
at hand here
wonderful, isn't it?
it's very Magan is very Putin. But what's
Yeah.
also interesting is that it's all about the Arctic, really. I mean, what we're talking about is two countries that are so important to the future of the world trade, because Canada and Greenland, Denmark through Greenland, have such a powerful position in terms of their hold over the Arctic. I think Greenland, because it's the deepest slope into the Arctic Ocean, has the most say over what happens in the Arctic region. And as the snow melts there, as the ice melts, those become very important trade routes from China and from Russia. And there's no doubt that Russia and China want to control as much of this territory as possible. So in addition to this just being, imperialistic gains, what they're also looking for is gains on the trade routes around the world, to control all the trade routes around the world.
Yeah, and it's also minerals and rare earths
Mm,
for the tech industry.
right.
It's quite clear because you can see how these guys that travel to Greenland all the time, they're involved in the tech business and try to start up these mining projects. And it is, as I said to a media outlet today, it's dirty money. It's like, this kickstarted in Denmark about 5, 10 years ago, really, when the Chinese were showing interest. And this was what we were afraid that would happen with China coming into Greenland and managing to do this stuff. But now it's the US doing the exact same thing. Yeah, it's quite mad, really.
And didn't the U.S. isn't part of the allegation that there were some Chinese businesses that were set up there? The U.S. Was conducting operations to squeeze those Chinese businesses out so they could take over those businesses. Is that what I heard as well?
Yeah, there's so much nonsense and so many lies going on, and that's what I said initially. You could tell already after Donald or Trump Jr. had been to Greenland in January that these false narratives about Russia and China were coming out on the MAGA media stream in the U.S. And they were also talking about how the Chinese and Russian naval ships were cruising around Greenland and saying we need it for national security. And it's just bullshit.
Yeah.
It's pure, it's nonsense.
Well, yeah, dude, they
There are
said the same
three
thing about.
actors. There are
Sorry, go ahead.
three actors in Greenland, and that's Denmark, Greenland, and the US. And that's it. And China has shown some interest, obviously, and tried to get in with contracts to the home rule Greenlandic authority, but they haven't been successful.
Oh, okay, so that was a
To a
lie.
large
That was
extent.
that was one of those propaganda lies where they're like, "Hey, we're pushing out the Chinese. That's all we were doing, everybody." When really what they were doing is they were greasing the palm of separatists and amplifying their needs, helping them, supporting them, so that they could help the United States get what they want, which is effectively ownership of Greenland, which is fascinating. And going back to what you said in terms of propaganda, again, it's the same fucking playbook. Pardon my language. I hope you don't mind the odd swear. But it's the same. It's the same playbook. Which when Donald Trump was talking about annexing Canada and making it the 51st state, which by the way we're crushing them and we love it. When he was talking about making Canada the 51st state, he stood up to the stump and he was like, well, what's Canada going to do? There's Russian warships in the water all around Canada, all in the Arctic. They need our protection. They need our protection. And it was clear bullshit where everybody called bullshit. But there's a certain group of people that believe that, right? Which is really the dangerous part of that message. But that message has been repeated and they're on message, which is like, no, we're protecting Greenland. We want to protect Canada. When in reality, it's completely the opposite. They want to come in, be robber barons, and then take over our countries.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's it. And fortunately, also, you see the same dynamic in Greenland as you see in Canada, and like the Ukrainians with the Russians now really wanting them out. So this has had the opposite effect of what Trump believed so far, fortunately, and all the polls that have been done in Greenland show that there's less of a drive towards independence now than what was the case previously.
But this has been the case in Ukraine for a long time. This started off as the same kind of thing in Ukraine. The Russians were pushing a lot of narratives around, who really owned Ukraine and grievances Ukraine might have. And over time, those narratives have grown into real war, have turned out to be their justification for war. So this might be, talking about diplomatic scuffles and now, but we're talking quite seriously about potential conflict between these countries.
Yeah. But the thing is, what we've seen, fortunately, that the Danish government has done is that they're showing more military presence up there now. They started that in June, really, and much more through July. And we've also seen the French President Macron has been to Greenland. The French are opening a consulate now. We've seen the Germans sending parts of their navy up there as well. And it's important to show force to deter, because we know this is not popular in the US, and we need to amplify the message in the US to talk about this and to get people and to understand how insane this really is.
Yeah, you know what, and I think that's having people like you on to kind of, sluice through some of the information, and then hearing the stories and how similar these stories are in the Trump regime's attempt to, empire build, along with his new buddy Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping. So, it's fascinating to get your perspective, especially your professional perspective as someone that worked in Danish intelligence for as long as you did. And I guess the last question I would ask you is, do you have any inkling as to, the severity of it? Is this just, the Trump regime trying to rattle cages, trying to troll Denmark? Or is there a belief in the intelligence community and intelligence circles within the Danish government that, yeah, I think we might need to prepare for some type of escalation with the United States?
I think there's a realization now. In the beginning, initially in January, the government was saying, we'll take it seriously, but not literally. And I was saying, what are you on about? Trump is saying this. They're going to drive through all these activities, because you could tell already in January that this was a subversive campaign starting. So I think after perhaps April, when this reporting started to come in, they started to take it literally and to be prepared, and also with the military assets we've sent up there. We've had F-16 planes up there with French refueling them on the way. Our new favorite ally, and so on and so forth. So that is a sign that they're serious about it, and so it should be, because if they don't take it very seriously and literally, we increase the danger of Trump doing something rash, and a covert takeover. It's not possible when there are these military assets up there. And it'll be very difficult for Trump to go in for some larger scale military planning. There'll be ample warning time, etc., etc. It'll cause a big outrage in the U.S. I'm quite confident. So I think we're in a better place now, but it is very serious, and we need to stay on top of it. And our security and intelligence service is beefing up efforts up there. They have enough to do with Russians and Iranians and people running around also, but now they need to work on the Americans as well, which is insane.
Well, Canada stands with you. Zev, do you want to say something?
No, I was going to say thanks to Jacob for joining us, because that is, in fact, you're 100% right that it's amazing that the United States is now basically viewed as an adversary when it comes to these territories, and it's really stunning. So,
just
my thanks to you.
Anecdote.
Yeah,
I need to put a funny anecdote out
yeah,
there.
please.
You know that Denmark and Canada had a quarrel back in the day about Hans Island, which is a few rocks up between Canada and Greenland back a few years ago, and our navies, they used to plant. Then the Canadians would come and plant a Canadian flag. Then the Danish Navy would come and plant a Danish flag and leave a bottle of schnapps, etc., etc. But then they sorted it out, and like it should be. And I guess for me and many other Danes, you are our favorite allies now. My daughter is in Montreal at university as we speak, and I hope to make my way over there sometime this fall.
Well,
That's
listen,
great to hear.
yeah, if you get over here, make sure you look me up. I'm now following you. You're now following me. We've now had an introductory, ice-breaking conversation. It's sort of like when you start holding hands at the movie theater with your new girlfriend. So now we're comfortable with each other. And I can truthfully tell you, Jacob, it was an honor to get your text. It's an honor to have you on the show. Someone that has your acumen and Danish intelligence, as long as you've done it, to kind of just briefly explain to us the severity of what's going on in Denmark, the realities here in Canada, and how they're both incredibly similar. And you're right. We'll stand behind Denmark. We know Denmark will stand with us. We know the EU proper is currently being rolled up in a coalition of the willing. Mark Carney and all these EU leaders spending time together this week, solidifying security and economic and trade agreements so that we can rearm together and move forward together and protect ourselves. But absolutely a joy to have you on the show today. Jacob Casboe. Anytime, Danish National Intelligence Officer joins us today to explain what's going on in Denmark, bringing it back to Canada, not because we're selfish, but because we have the same cancer. It's MAGA. Thanks for doing this. Really appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
See ya.
Take care.
Thank you, Jacob.
There's Jacob Casboe. Follow him on Substack, everybody. He's really good.
He knows his stuff.
He did an incredible live with Malcolm Nance. He's only got about 600 followers. He's like that band that you went and saw in a club when no one liked them, and then like 4 years later they're like huge. And you go, hey, I saw that band at Lee's Palace, or I saw that band
early.
Yeah, get him early. Jacob Casboe, K2A's RSBO. Pronounced Casboe. Make sure you give him a follow over on Substack, just to prove that it's not a vacuum, right? Like, I think that that's really important to talk to people from around the world, specifically people like him that have their fingers on the pulse and hear things that are legitimate to be able to share them with us. The threat of the Trump regime and empire expansion is very fucking real, my friend.
It is, and it's great to hear, Jacob. It's great to just connect with someone on the other side of the world who's facing the same issues, because that is so important that we get out of our silos and talk to each other. But to credit to you, Dean, for staying on the story in Alberta, staying on this operation in Canada, which is really quite serious. People might think it's not that serious, but the fact that MAGA, a NATO ally, is operating most likely in Canada in the same way they're operating in Greenland, running information and influence operations in order to have a province secede. I mean, it's equivalent to, asking California to secede, and it's not that different from the California secession movement, which was started by Russia, way back when. In fact, the head of that Californian secession movement now lives in Russia. It can tell you how close connected they are to that movement. But this is MAGA coming after, the United States coming after Canada, a NATO ally, one of the closest allies they've ever had, in an attempt to break away a province. It's very serious. And Dean, you've been covering it more than anybody else, and kept the spotlight on it. So congratulations on that, and thank you for doing that.
Really appreciate it. Also, we just killed two birds with one stone. That is story number 5 and number 4. So we can hustle right over to story number 3 if you want.
Well, we can. I was going to mention one quick story at number 4, but if you don't mind, let me just quickly do this. I think it's an important story. So 4 days after helping Trump prepare for his Alaska summit with Putin, the CIA's senior-most Russia analyst with 29 years of service was escorted to security and had her clearance stripped in minutes. Now, she was the person who's preparing Trump for that meeting with Putin. 4 days afterwards, she's gone. She's also been approved for a prestigious European assignment by Director Ratcliffe. Instead, she became the casualty of Tulsi Gabbard. Not only that, she's a CIA spy, and her identity has been revealed publicly by Tulsi Gabbard. This is the person who knows Russia the best in the CIA, who works tirelessly to combat Russia, and now she is gone. And it ties into what we've just been talking about with Denmark and Copenhagen and Greenland, and the same thing that's happening in Canada. There's a real lack now of knowledge inside the intelligence agencies about Russia. They've been firing everybody, which doesn't leave America in a very good place.
That's unbelievable. I haven't heard that story yet, but it stands to reason, right? The gutting of every national intelligence agency that has anything to do with Russia, whether it's cyber crimes or relations. A 29-year veteran on Soviet-Russia relations, Soviet-Russia policy, Putin, everything to do with the KGB and the FSB. That is stunning. It's stunning, but it's also not, right? Like, if you understand exactly what he's doing here, and what he's doing is anybody that's trying to hold him accountable, anybody around him that isn't on board with his plan to partner with Putin, or anybody that shows any dissent, they're gone. And yesterday he did it again. I don't know if you saw it in the press conference. Someone asked him a question, and he effectively said, "I'm the president of the United States. I can do whatever I want." Then he followed that up with another one of those ambiguous, well, a lot of people want a dictator here. A lot of people want to dictate. That's the second time he's done it, and he's doing it. So when you consider how fucking power drunk this dementia-laden, diaper-wearing, 34-time felon, convicted rapist, and sexual predator of a president, when you consider how compromised he is in what he's doing, and how he turns these distractions into policy, like we talked about yesterday, and even talking to Jacob today in Denmark. I think Canadians should have their heads on a fucking swivel. Like, I don't, and I want to talk to Malcolm Nance. I'm going to try and get him on the show next week. But, he was warning that Trump was looking at or considering invading Canada. And I don't think in his first term he was this punch drunk. I don't think in his first term he was this stoned on power. I don't think in his first term he had people around him, sycophants, drunk Fox News weekend anchors, Tulsi Gabbard, who will do anything for a blowy. Like, I don't think he had those people around him. Now he does. And that's the scariest part. You remember Miles Taylor? He wrote that letter, Adults in the Room. There are no adults in the room. There are none.
And the institutional knowledge that is being lost by losing a 29-year veteran who's responsible for Russia policy in the CIA. You're losing so much knowledge, so much of networking, so much connections that person has. It seems almost unthinkable in the middle of a conflict with Russia as we have right now to be losing your top CIA analyst on this is a remarkable thing. And to do so willingly because you've decided, you just don't want her there because your Russian boss has told you not to keep her. I mean, this is... it is what it is. I mean, we just have to recognize the facts that the American president is a stooge for Russia, and he will do anything he can in order to weaken America's hand and strengthen Russia's hand.
Don't disagree. I mean, the receipts are the receipts. This is the same president that says, "Don't believe what you see, don't believe what you read, just believe me." Don't believe him. Don't believe a fucking word he says. But now you can. Now you can believe because he's saying it out loud, because he's either old, he is confused, or he fucking is so crazy powerful at this point, and he realizes it, that he may, sounds crazy, he may invade Greenland.
I don't think it's that crazy. I think they may invade Mexico as well. They're building plans right now to basically use the U.S. military to fight the so-called cartels in Mexico. But really, it's an invasion of Mexico.
Yeah.
And those plans exist right now. They've also got that militarized zone along the southern border. It's not crazy to imagine him invading Denmark.
Well, and don't forget Venezuela too. There's 4 warships and 4,000 personnel just sitting off the coast of Venezuela right now. They're conducting psyops and espionage operations in Greenland. They're conducting espionage and cessation operations, offering $500 million transition loans to separatists in Alberta to separate. I guarantee you they're doing the same thing in Mexico. I can guarantee you doing the same thing in Mexico. They're doing the same thing in Ukraine. They're doing the same thing in England. Are you watching what's going on in England with this Tommy Robinson stuff, the flag shit? Are you seeing any of this?
Vaguely, not directly.
But Tommy Robinson, Trump's a huge fan. Huge fan. And he's on, and Elon he just got out of, he's a piece of shit. He just got out of jail for literally inciting riots where innocent people got their asses kicked or murdered by a bunch of white hooligans who are like, let's keep England white. And that is also an operation. So, the idea that Donald Trump and his regime aren't doing exactly what Vladimir Putin and his FSB are doing around the world, specifically in Europe right now, Moldova, Romania, Poland, all those countries. It is all hands on deck. They tried to do the same thing in Canada, didn't work because we're not fucking stupid. And we elected the right guy. Now they can't have Canada, so they're going after Alberta. They're doing the same thing in Greenland. Greenland and Denmark told him to go fuck his hat. So what does Donald Trump do? He sends a bunch of business guys in to pretend to be business guys, and they might be business guys, but to spray a bunch of money around, give it to people that they know want independence from Denmark so that the United States can kind of come in as their new overlord or brother or sister or father or whatever. And he's doing the same thing to Canada, doing the exact same thing.
Absolutely. It's very serious, and I'm surprised that we haven't had a stronger response yet from Carney to what's going on in Alberta. But the more you bring it to light, the more I think it's going to deserve that kind of response. The number 4 story is
3, I think. 3.
I know, but we actually had 5 stories. I'm trying to fit in. So let's call this
4.
Let's go 3.
Let's just go 4. Let's just go until we're done.
We're just going to go through them quickly because they're good ones. It's a busy news day. The CDC exploded into open revolt after Trump fired Director Susan Monaraz, and 3 senior leaders resigned in protest, saying they were asked to participate in an unscientific vaccine recommendation. Unscientific vaccine recommendation. And they were asked to do this. This is a process that would harm Americans, they all said. Security officers escorted them off the Atlanta campus Thursday morning. As RFK Jr. told Fox News, the CDC is in trouble, quote unquote, and needs to get rid of more people. But even Republican Senator Bill Cassidy, who votes to confirm Kennedy, demands delays and oversight to what's going on right now. This is terrifying, what he's doing to vaccine policy. But the loss of these 4 individuals that have been running the CDC, indicates that there is something deeply unscientific and deeply troubling going on from the leadership of RFK Jr.
Yeah, who'd have thunk, I guess, right? A guy that said heroin cured his ADHD, who also cut the head off of a whale with a chainsaw and strapped it to the top of his Jeep Cherokee, who ate roadkill, who kept a journal of all the women he slept with while he was doing heroin. Had a worm in his brain that ate his brain, that can't talk properly because he's so fucking mentally and physically unwell. Who would have thought that appointing him as the head of the Homeland Health and Homeland Security would result in firing every member of the CDC because RFK wants to make a recommendation. This is what I heard today, for some type of powder that he and his friends are involved with financially, that they want to mass produce and sell as some type of cure-all. I'm not kidding you.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised by anything that comes from this guy. But
and the CDC brass was like, we're not greenlighting that. That's going to fucking kill people. And they're like, you're fired. You're fired. Who'd have thought?
Good for them for standing up in the way they have. But this is unbelievable. Now she's still arguing that she's not been fired and she didn't resign. So we shall see what happens. Although there was, clearly the White House wants her gone. It won't be long now, but she's putting up a court defense against this. Unbelievable that we're having this conversation around science and vaccines and things that are proven over and over again.
Can I just jump in and a little quick aside?
Yeah.
Miss Moners, the head of the CDC, refusing to resign, and then Lisa Cook, the governor of the Federal Reserve, refusing to resign, suing the Trump administration for wrongful dismissal because he doesn't have the authority to fire any of those people. I think women, American women, and anybody in those positions, but in this case, American women and women in general, are going to save the United States of America. I really do believe that. Because generally speaking, when Trump fired people in the past, they took their lumps and they walked away and they're like, oh, I guess I got fired. Oh, I guess. Lisa Cook told him to go fuck himself. So did the head of the CDC. They're like, yeah, we're not going anywhere. We have a job to do to protect our country, to protect the economy, to protect citizens from bullshit elixirs like the one that RFK Jr. and his buddies are trying to greenlight and sell, which cannot pass any kind of FDA test whatsoever. So they fired her. And she's saying no. God bless the females in the United States of America. Don't stop. I watched JoJo from Jers, Heather Cox the other day, Letters from an American, on a massive podcast with the Politics Girl and a few other really stunningly bright women. And I'm like, Yeah, yeah, we need to hear more from these women because they're more pissed off than we are. Because it's easy for a guy to kind of relate back to this macho bullshit, this perception of alpha males that seems to be running the United States of America. It's not. They're all a bunch of scared pussies, and they're all trying to enrich themselves, and they don't care if you die as a result. So let's hear it for the ladies today. I just wanted to point that out.
Absolutely. Great point. Great point. The number 3 story, I'm going to say this out loud. I think the Minneapolis shooting may have been a false flag. Within hours of 2 children dying in Minneapolis, MAGA activated its trans-terrorist narrative. I wrote about this on narrative.org today. This is everybody jumping in, saying this is a trans person, this is a trans person, and then alleging these are terrorists and out of control, you name it. This is maybe the 3rd or 4th time we have on record where MAGA has jumped in after a major shooting, a mass shooting like this, and determined to label the shooter a trans person. And then there's all these other things that have shown up in terms of the shooter. There are sections written in the manifesto by the shooter in Russian. I mean, why is this person out of Minneapolis who doesn't speak Russian writing something in Russian with all these violence ideation ideas in Russian? And then also Russian text on her weapon, on their weapon. This is, also remarkably unusual. They claim in their manifesto, at least in the video that they released, that they were going to vote for the Republican representative for their region, but then we're also wanting to kill Trump. So there's all these contradictions, things that don't make sense. We've also heard that maybe this person was wanting to detransition at this point. But all these things are adding up to this, really remarkable, too quick to be anything other than an organized reaction by MAGA that say, immediately dive in, trying to label the shooter a trans person. I remember it happened at Uvalde. Quite clearly, Paul Gosar was the one who jumped in right away, claiming the shooter was a trans person. Wasn't at the end of the day. But, this energized, quick attempt to control the narrative really makes me suspicious about what really went on and whether this could really be a false flag.
Yeah, and I watched your Trump tyranny tracker today with Olga, and I know that she mentioned this gentleman, the killer, the psycho that went and shot up a Catholic church, killing 2 kids, injuring 17 others, traumatizing dozens, which is really what we should be focusing on. But to focus on, the outlier here, the news that this guy had, was it Cyrillic language
Russian
written
letters,
down?
basically.
Yeah, Russian letters written down as in part of his manifesto, that he had spent a lot of time in these chat rooms with specifically unnamed people from Eastern Bloc countries, that he had been radicalized over a period of time. It leans into what you said yesterday, which really intrigued me, and I thought it was a fascinating conversation, is that Russia has the ability, other countries have the ability to radicalize individual people, whether they be through troll farms or bot farms or, research agencies. They call them research agencies, where they spend a lot of time in these Discord chat sites. Folks, check your kids' Discord chat sites. And telling them how miserable their life is, why their life is miserable, what they need to do if they want to be a martyr, if they want to be remembered forever. That's what happened with the Christchurch shooter, who mainlined rebel news bullshit for a long period of time and then went and shot up a mosque. Didn't matter what religion they were. He just found a bunch of easy marks, hated Muslims, rebel news, hates Muslims. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to go shoot up a mosque and kill like 55 people, and did it with like a GoPro on, and you could watch it like Call of Duty. It's some of the grossest shit I've ever seen in my life. This is no different in my mind. This is no different.
Absolutely. This the shooter talked about my mission, whatever that might have been referring to, in their goodbye letter to the family, and then also described having this idyllic life. So you got to ask, how did she have an idyllic life, and then also have this killer mission that she was on, and then they claimed that she was being corrupted by this world. Who in this world is corrupting this person in Minneapolis? Who is in the world is getting to this person and corrupting their thinking, making them depressed, suicidal, making them believe that they were going to get cancer or had cancer, well-developed cancer as well. This is someone who did not speak Russian, who is now writing stuff about famous mass shooters, about violent fantasies in Russian. Russian is not an easy language to learn, never mind to actually be able to communicate these kinds of complex, dark thoughts in Russian. It really makes you suspicious of how this person got to this position where they picked up those weapons and did this mission, or did this, well, they call it a mission, to kill these students at the school. It's horrific, of course, what happened. There's no excusing it, but the jump to call this a terrorist movement, this pylon by MAGA, just trying to convince everyone that there's some sort of trend in terms of trans shooters, that they're a threat to society.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
It's just bullshit. It's an attempt to make the MAGA base feel like they're under threat, but they're not under threat from trans people. The threat comes from the White House.
No, yeah, absolutely. And they did the same thing with the last 3 or 4 shooters, where they tried to insert a narrative that they were activists in the LGBTQ community. And the Uvalde shooter, if you remember, he had long hair. The very first thing Gosar said is, that guy's trans. Yeah. Trans people are shooting everybody. And you're right. It's a rallying cry for idiots, hillbillies, and homophobes, and the religious right, and assholes who desperately and deeply want to experience the company of a same-sex individual. So, it's really a shame, but it is absolutely exactly what Putin does in Russia.
Exactly.
Where he has been telling people for years, gay people are a disease, trans people are terrorists, we need to get them out of our country. And they literally go door to door looking for secret gay clubs and gay people. And you know what they do with them now? They send them to the front lines. That's what they do to trans people, gay people. They send them to the front lines. Matter of time before Donald Trump is going to use this justification, we say it yesterday, to build this trans or LGBTQ data registry.
Yeah.
To go after those people as well. Absolutely.
That's why it's so serious. This is not one of those things we can just let go by. If there is an attempt to create this false narrative around trans people, it needs to be formidably countered by everybody, especially the national media. I have a piece about it on narrative.org, NARATIV.org. People should check it out. At number 2.
Number 2.
We'll do this one quickly.
All right.
So Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin join Xi Jinping at a massive Beijing military parade next week, marking 80 years since World War II's end in an unprecedented show of authoritarian solidarity. This September 3rd, by the way, September 3rd is another day that we're watching for Jeffrey Epstein. Tiananmen Square spectacle features 10,000 troops, hypersonic missiles, never-before-seen weapons, and they will include almost all Western leaders won't show up except for Mr. Fico, the Slovakian prime minister, who's best friends with Vladimir Putin.
What date? What was the date of that?
September 3rd.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Isn't that weird how the same day every Epstein victim, well, as many as they can find, is going to walk into Congress and give a testimony about their experiences with Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump and probably others. Isn't it odd that Donald Trump, who talks to his buddy Vlad every day, is going to be front and center as the victim, and his friends will be victims of these victims the same day that Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping and Kim Jong-un are going to get together for a massive show of military force in China, in Tiananmen Square. Isn't that odd? Isn't that an interesting coincidence?
It is an interesting thing that's happening, and it's also remarkable that these three are going to be in public together like that. I mean, these are the most despicable authoritarian leaders in the world, and maybe it's time for us to take the mask off China to realize who they really are and the role they're playing in this war against democracy and the war against the United States, because clearly they're not just neutral parties to this.
Do you know what I call that parade? A target-rich environment.
It is that.
That is going to be a target-rich environment.
A heavily weaponized one. Finally, at number 1 today, the Social Security whistleblower Charles Borges confirmed that Doge has duplicated the entire Social Security Administration database. Every American's name, address, birth date, Social Security number is now onto a private cloud owned by Elon Musk with zero independent monitoring. This interconnected super database also links your Social Security, tax returns, medical files, as well as your employment history through Palantir's technology. This is what I reported many months ago in the new feudalism series. It's obviously happened. This insider from the Social Security Administration is raising the alarm. There has to be a congressional response to this. There's going to have to be proper bipartisan investigations into this. This is a massive, massive violation of protocol. It's a massive theft of American data.
What could go wrong? I mean, what could go wrong? You have all, oh my God. You have all of Elon Musk, not you, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, Peter Thiel, Elon Musk's oligarch pals, who's connected to deeply with China and Russia, financially, in terms of, the ecosystem of all of his businesses, whether it be Starlink, whether it be Tesla. He has all of your data. He has all of your information. He has an up-to-date, up-to-the-minute digital footprint of you from the moment you were born, first job you took, your first tax return, your medical records, criminal records, counseling records, absolutely everything that has anything to do with you if you were treated by the government in any capacity whatsoever. Elon Musk has all that.
Yeah.
And here's the catch. The people that voted for these dicks voted for them on the, as one of the reasons, voted for them on the auspices, under the auspices that they didn't want digital identification.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to carry around digital ID.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you always have, number one. And number two, the guys you voted for just stole it all.
Mm-hmm.
Just stole it all so that they could come up with a perfect profile of you in real time so that they can conduct psychological operations on you.
Mm-hmm.
You. 377 million yous. You.
Your identity can be stolen at any minute.
Anytime.
Blame Elon Musk.
They can steal your identity. They can steal your money. They can steal everything from you. Right now, Elon Musk can, not just the government. Like, if you didn't trust the government before, I got news for you. Now, not only can you not trust the government, you can't trust a third-party agency that Elon Musk owns that stole that information from the government on the authority of one Donald J. Trump.
Yeah, we know that
All of the
Starlink was
information.
downloading the stuff into Russia anyhow. So, that's probably where it also is. But, we raised Lisa Cook earlier on. Lisa Cook is being charged by the administration for apparent mortgage fraud. All this kind of information that they suddenly discover over these mortgage fraud and all things, maybe they happened, maybe they didn't. But the way they're finding it out is by running searches on this new Palantir database. I almost can guarantee you that that's what they're doing, is they're cross-referencing databases that should not be cross-referenced, that they've not gotten permission to share these databases with each other and to cross-reference them. By design, they're meant to be siloed. And here we are with them breaking the law. I think they're definitely breaking the law here in terms of reconciling the databases together. Of course, nothing will happen, but it's imperative that Congress actually has these oversight hearings to figure out exactly what was taken from the American people.
Couple things. It has never been more important for you to ramp up. It doesn't matter what it takes for you to vote in 2026. You have to vote.
Mm-hmm.
Vote. If you didn't vote last time, you got to vote. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter where you are. As long as you have the ability to vote in the United States of America, you have to register to vote. You have to figure out a way to vote. There will be mail-in voting. Donald Trump cannot stop mail-in voting, whether you like it or not. It's all bluster. There will be Smartmatic machines. Donald Trump cannot get rid of those. That is all bluster. He will try. You need to make your way past ICE agents. You got to make your way through long crowds, but you have to do it because Donald Trump has just stolen your entire life, receipts for your entire life, and handed it to Elon Musk. Handed it to him.
Yep.
Handed it to him.
And Vladimir Putin.
And Vladimir Putin handed it to him. And who knows, maybe China handed it to him. And that was what Donald Trump was put in power to do. That is why he is the president of the United States. And in return, he gets to do things like take Qatari jets, make $3, $4, $5 billion off of untraceable Bitcoin deals with foreign countries, put his name on fucking cologne and Bibles and all kinds of bullshit. This is an enrichment process for Donald Trump. He is a representation of these foreign governments and Doge. And I'm telling you right now, if you do not get ready to vote in 2026, this conversation and the ones we're having about annexation and the invasion of Greenland and espionage and diplomats getting called in and Alberta, everything will pale in comparison to what this man can do. So
we can't
please
even really
vote.
wait till 2026. Everyone should vote. You're absolutely right. This is the most important thing on everyone's agenda for the next year. But right now is every second that this man is in power, the more democratic ground we lose, the more freedoms we lose, the more power he amasses almost every second. And so every second we lose in terms of protesting him, in terms of trying to stop him, is a second we can't get back. We're losing our freedom daily. And so, whatever it is, when you put your thinking caps on tonight, we need the most creative, brilliant ideas to rise to the surface. What we're doing now is not really working. Playing by the rules doesn't really work. We've shown with Gavin Newsom that maybe there's an opportunity to break the rules and we can do something. And that is a very creative idea that Newsom and the other Democratic governors are thinking of. But there's got to be more like that. We need to really break our boundaries. We need to think beyond the obvious. We need to come up with the most incredibly original, creative ideas that is going to stop this administration from continuing to operate. So I encourage everyone to think about those things. No idea is stupid, really. Let's share them and think about them, see if we can develop them, because we really need to be outfoxing these guys. And right now, if they continue at this pace, it's going to be very difficult to claw back.
Yeah, completely agree. Disagree when you said no idea is stupid. I've seen some bad ones recently. So
it's true. There's some stupid ideas.
Yeah,
just ask Donald Trump. That is the FiveStack for today. Thank you very much for being here. DeanBlundell.substack.com is where you can find all that incredible coverage about what's going on in Canada in terms of the MAGA operations to have Alberta secede. It's a big story. It needs to get a lot more coverage. Please get to Dean's Substack and share it widely. It's super important that more people hear about what America is doing to Canada, their greatest ally, right now. And at narrative.org, NARATIV.org, you can catch a story that I just posted about the Social Security Administration and the Doge infiltration of that, plus the trans terrorism, how that's becoming an issue. And then, of course, the Greatest Heist series continues as well. Both our sites are at 50% off for annual subscriptions.
Yeah, 50% off for life. Lock it in once, never pay more. It's just a nice thing to do to keep people in the know and keep people coming back, keep people commenting, chatting. We've got several hundred people in here right now that are watching and listening, and I couldn't be more grateful. All of you have supported the resistance and made the ability for us to be able to source this kind of information and bring it to you very possible. So Zev and I both have 50% off annual subscriptions. It's still incredibly cheap. To be able to get great information, have your intentions and your information affirmed by people that give a shit. There's a bunch of us out there, and we're all getting together under one big umbrella to be truth tellers so that we can kind of go through this together, because this isn't just happening. I say this all the time, and it's true. It's not happening to you. It's happening to us. It's happening to all of us. And we all have a responsibility, as Zev said. Yes, there are stupid ideas, but effort to be able to kind of push back starts with you. It starts with you consuming, sharing this information, subscribing to people like us, like Lev, like Zev, like Midas, like Aaron Parnas and the Parnas Perspective.
Like Jacob Carsbro.
Jacob Carsbro, yeah, absolutely. Like Ellie Leonard, like Nick Perro, like my friend Kat. There are a lot of people, citizen journalists out there who are just as sick. We're lucky, again, because we have big platforms, but we only have these big platforms because we used to be part of the machine. Now we're not part of the machine, and we see the failures of the machine, and we take it upon ourselves to be able to fill those gaps where everybody else is failing, sometimes intentionally, because they align with what's going on. We're not. We don't. We never will. Our values and virtues will always be your values and virtues, which is democracy, kindness, and we encourage you to join us, whether you can pay for a subscription or not. Doesn't matter. Please share this content, but paid is always welcome because it keeps us humming at a rate that pleases me, because I've got a little ADHD. So, in a world where it's all bullshit comes handy. I mean, when you're doing this kind of content. So thank you all for joining us today for the FiveStack. Thank you, Zev, for showing up today. Really appreciate it.
I always love showing up. And I'll be on with Ellie and Nick at 5:15, I think.
Oh my God. No way.
Yeah,
Dude,
so check it out.
That's incredible. Ellie, Nick, On your Substack or their Substack?
On theirs, I think. I've got to check it out.
All
but I
right.
think
Well,
it's theirs.
it'll be here too, right? It'll be on your Substack.
Yeah,
So you
we'll
can
be
go
here
watch
too.
it.
Yeah.
Follow Ellie and Nick. They're great. Same with Freddie.
See you soon. There you go. We will see.
Okay, buddy. I'll watch.
Cheers, everybody. Have a great
Take care.
day.
Bye, guys.